U.S. Central Command is set to go to the White House later today. He'll be meeting with President Trump and the national security team. Among the issues in the briefing, the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. Brian Yanis, live in Tel Aviv with more. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Dana. Good morning. Well, Iran's Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei has released a new written statement today that was read aloud by a presenter on Iranian state TV. It calls the United States the Great Satan and vows to protect Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities. The statement, also posted on X, says this about Americans, quote, "Those foreigners from thousands of kilometers away who are greedily carrying out transgressions in the Persian Gulf and Sea of Oman have no place here except at the bottom of its waters. Iran will put an end to the hostile enemy's exploitation of the Strait of Hormuz." Now, Khamenei went on to declare that the Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's new management and rules, reiterating Iran's intent to control the strait and continue charging some ships tolls. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Fox that this would be completely unacceptable to the U.S. and the world. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps commander Ahmed Vahidi is thought to actually be the one calling the shots in Iran. The Supreme Leader, who is said to be seriously wounded from Operation Epic Fury, has not made one public appearance since he became the Ayatollah 2 months ago. But for now, President Trump has opted to extend the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports and continue the economic sanctions with the goal of collapsing Iran's economy, forcing them into a deal to end its nuclear weapons program.
We were able to grab about $350 million crypto assets, and then on top of another 100 that we had recently gotten. So we're almost at $500 million there. And we are freezing bank accounts everywhere. More importantly, we are making people less willing to deal with the regime.
President Trump has not taken new military strikes off the table and has warned Iran to get smart soon, or else. Dana.
Or else we all see what that means. Thank you, Brian.
So retired Lieutenant General Karen Gibson's here, former Director of Intelligence for U.S. Central Command. You got quite the resume, General. Thanks for your time. And now we have decisions before the president as to what to do next. Here was the question and then the answer from the Oval Office.
Do you think another wave of strikes will be necessary?
I don't know. It depends. We have talks. We're having talks with them now, and we're not flying anymore with 18-hour flights. They've come a long way. The question is whether or not they're going to go far enough. So at this moment, there will never be a deal unless they agree that there will be no nuclear weapons.
Okay. The options before him are obvious. What's the best one right now?
Well, I think it's interesting that I characterize the first part of this campaign as the kinetic portion from February 28th to April 8th, in which we imposed punishing airstrikes from the U.S. and Israeli militaries, and Iran countered with missiles and drones against infrastructure across the Gulf. Since the 8th, we've entered this economic phase. I like the term Operation Economic Fury, in which we are both using military assets to try to squeeze each other economically. Iran's strategy has always been make this campaign so politically and economically intolerable for us that we would decide to call it quits. Hence, their chokehold on the Straits of Hormuz. But now we've countered with this blockade, turning back, as I understand, over 40 vessels and denying Iran the vast majority of revenue that would come to it from goods, primarily oil and petrochemicals that are transited from the sea. They already had a failing economy. That's what generated the popular protests at the end of 2025 and the start of 26. But they've proved very resilient in the past to economic pressure, whether that was the pre-JCPOA sanctions or the maximum pressure campaign of the first Trump administration. I think the final thing I'd say on this is that the regime has never prioritized the economic well-being of its own people. Even under the previous sanction regimes, when they had limited assets, they still prioritized funds to proxies and to their own military. So I think it remains to be seen how much it will take in terms of economic pressure to get them to make those additional concessions. that we
General,
see.
I mentioned this Wall Street Journal article last hour. I think it was so well done because there's a view inside of Iran. And at the end, the expert says Iranians will suffer hardship, but their pain tolerance threshold is higher. And that's something we really have to gauge. In the meantime, you're in the military, and with regard to hardware in the region, we're about to send a missile in that we've never used before. All right, it's called a hypersonic missile. Bloomberg headline: U.S. seeks to deploy a hypersonic missile for the first time. It's called the Dark Eagle. It has a range of 1,700 miles, can exceed Mach 5, which is greater than 4,000 miles an hour, $15 million each. I can tell you this, General, we were at the Reagan Defense Forum 2 years ago, and the entire forum was talking about hypersonic weapons because the Russians and the Chinese had beaten us so badly at this, and we had yet to really develop an effective one. Do you have confidence in the hypersonic weapon that we've developed? And if it were to be deployed, could we do it effectively now?
Yes. So to be fair, that's not something that I've tracked closely in terms of this performance of a weapon that has not been tested on the battlefield. I would make one comment that the Central Command submits a number of RFFs, or requests for forces, and it implies that the commander is considering various options that might require the use of those forces, such as elements of the 82nd Airborne Division, which are over now in the Middle East, but have not yet been used. And so just because an RFF has gone in, request for forces, doesn't mean there's a plan for its imminent use. But certainly, I think the commander wants to expand the range of options that are available to him beyond those already punishing airstrikes that we've done. It signals greater commitment and resolve on the part of the United States, and I think is something that is clearly being contemplated to use if it turns that this economic pressure that we are applying is not successful.
Okay, we'll see who makes the next move, right? Who's going to throw the next card down. General, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise with us. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.